Hi, welcome to Bourne Call In. I'm Skip Barlow. Today is Wednesday, March 3rd. Yeah, I'm here with Dick Conron tonight and Tom Barlow, and we're going to talk about the machine gun range. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, and I want to thank Dick and Tom for being here, you can call in, and Diane Flynn is over at the desk, and she writes the question down, and she brings it to me, and we'll present it. But Dick's going to give us a presentation on his feelings and his opinions about the machine gun race at the base, and Tom has some history. Tom has a lot of history. Got old. Yeah, so welcome to the show, guys, and
Thank you.
if you don't mind, I'll give you the floor.
Okay. Well, I got involved in, or interested in the machine gun range because I trained up there in the 60s with an artillery battery, and we dropped a lot of rounds into the impact area where they're, which is going on now. Then I got an interesting letter from a gentleman in Centerville. It was sent to Perry Ave, the town hall now, and he talked about why we got this machine gun range, because there are a lot of ranges in the state of Massachusetts. And he talked about ones at Devon's, talked about ones in Vermont, which is supposedly, I think, where all the Guard is going to go. So I start getting interested in this, and I encourage the Board of Selectmen to bring in the Guard from the base, from Camp Edwards, and have them make a presentation, and they did that, okay? But what amazed me was we didn't know anything about this. At least I didn't know anything about this, and it was well on its way. They got $11 million to do this thing. And so what I did is I tried to follow up with them in terms of, well, can you give me some more information about this, Well, if we're not going to send people to train in Vermont or up in New York, how much money are we going to save that you want to build this range? And there's no answer for that. Because I have no idea why, but he did not do any cost-benefit analysis or anything like that. So I put a second email out to him talking about, well, could you give us a list of tasks that you're going to be working on this year and where the project is? And he said, well, I'd be glad to do that, and I'll present it to the towns. So I followed up and said, well, what towns are you going to go talk to? Well, I'm going to go talk to anybody that wants to have me come and talk to them. Well, what are you going to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about whatever they want me to talk about, So we're getting in this loop here, and it's just, it's pretty upsetting. They're going to put an 8-position machine gun range out there, and one of the questions I asked them, whether you're going to shoot 50 caliber machine guns, because you see a lot of these large machine guns on these vehicles, these troop carrying vehicles. And he did get back to me and said, no, we're going to do 7.62 millimeter bullets and 5.56 millimeter bullets. Now, the difference of those two is the 5.5 ones are normally the AR-15s, the more modern weapons, okay? Back in the 60s, when I was in the service, we had something called a NATO round, which is a 7.62 round, which were used on the rifle, the M14 rifles, which were used for range qualification, which is what they're doing here. So then I sent them another note and said, well, why can't we just convert one of the 6 ranges you have active out there for machine gun training, and then we don't have to go through and clear cut all the trees and all the bush there. And I said, quite frankly, it bothers me that we're doing this on top of the aquifer. And got really not much support there. We got the money all set. We got preliminary approval and so on and so forth. So, at this point in time, I think the way we hopefully will be able to go is if the three towns, if the leadership teams of the three towns, also known as the select board, would get together and generate a letter to them expressing their concerns and from the different people that live in the different towns, then maybe we can start some kind of communication process that's a little more, interactive between the neighbors and the base,
We've done this before, with paved paws. They had a paved paws action committee, and everybody got together and they
Okay.
talked, and they had meetings once a month, and I agree, I wanted to throw that out there that,
Yeah,
yeah,
So, we'll just have to see where this goes. And like we were chatting before we got started, the Association for the Preservation of Cape Cod is very interested in this from a ecological point of view, and hopefully we can get some expertise on that. There was an article in I think this came from the Bourne Enterprise from a guy by the name of Conron, who talked about if they clear cut the trees, that it's essentially like burning more than 1.5 million gallons of gasoline. So there's a lot of data or a lot of information that I'd like to see come out more before we go down and do this thing. So
do you have any idea when they're gonna?
no, they don't.
They don't tell us anything.
They don't tell you anything. No. In his letter here, like I was saying to you, what towns are you planning to share information with? Well, we'll share with anyone. This is on the letterhead of the National Guard, And could you make a list of tasks? We'll make a list of whatever you want in any way they'd like to have it. Just tell us what you want us to do. So I'm a little discouraged,
So did you
to
tell
say
them
the
you didn't want a
least.
machine gun range?
Yeah, that's what I told them,
Yeah.
So I don't know, and the Camp Edwards was going to be closed back in when Paul Salucci was governor, I think it was.
I know they were gonna do it in
Yeah.
like 2005, they were talking
Yeah.
about it too.
Yeah,
And there was a
right.
brack or something they had going on, I
Yeah.
remember.
So when I was there in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
We were shooting lead bullets, and then they stopped all that for the Superfund. Then they brought in tungsten bullets, right? And that didn't last at all right? So we got 2 strikes against this before we even start here.
When Romney was governor, he wanted plastic bullets. I can
Yeah.
remember him coming down and doing a big presentation about that. And
So,
they came up with some way they were gonna recover the bullets, they felt.
so what I did is I took the copy of the letter from the Falmouth board, and I sent it to the Board of Selectmen and said, would you consider doing something like this? So according to George Slade, they're going to discuss that and hopefully maybe forward some kind of communication formally to the Guard. So we'll see.
Tom?
So I just want to comment a little bit about this. The Falmouth Board of Selectmen have the military come in each year to give them an update and presentation regarding what activities were occurring at the base. The machine gun range caught them by total surprise. The military never said anything regarding about the machine gun range. So they became aware of this just this year in October. They were behind the curve as far as the presentation, the preparation, that the plans had been had been started and going forward. This is again, we're getting the information rather late in the process. The environmental impact statement is like, which normally would be done regarding something of this magnitude. has been somewhat waived by the Guard, saying that there's no significant impact. You're talking 150 acres and 179 acres in total for this area that's going to be impacted. And the surrounding towns, they've been having protests down in Forestdale. It's only 1 mile away from the Forestdale Elementary School, and it's 2/10 of a mile away from the residential houses. And a grenade launcher, which they included in their machine gun, small weapons arsenal there, can be heard over a mile away. So you're going to have the same situation you had back in the late 80s when they were doing the mortar rounds on the weekends, where they were just blasting it off, and you know, that was where all the I guess the activists came from, was Forestdale, regarding the noise at the base, and then it just snowballed into the water quality, and then it got into the landfill, and it got into, you know, this being a Superfund site. And right now there's still 42 areas on the base that are still considered, you know, hazardous waste sites, not Superfund sites, but sites of remediation. So when Mr. Conron says he's concerned about the aquifer, you know, I think, you know, he's absolutely right. This is where 6 towns get their water from. It's not just Bourne, Sandwich, and Falmouth, and Mashpee, but also Barnstable and Yarmouth participate in this Upper Cape aquifer. And, you know, I definitely agree with everything you stated, and that, you know, our town, you know, needs to look at this seriously, and, you know, join in with Sandwich and Falmouth, and demand that an environmental impact statement. There's still time. There's 3 agencies that have not given the final okay on this range. So, you know, it hasn't got, you know, it's on the construction journal for $8 million or less, and but it has not been, you know, implemented. It hasn't been given a go yet. So, you know, and like stated, was the Association for the Preservation of Cape Cod, Andrew Gottlieb.
Gottlieb?
Yeah.
I used to be a Mashpee selectman. Anyway, he you know, did request for information because there was over 900 comments regarding this, and he's been delayed by the Guard regarding getting copies of all the concerns that the residents have brought forward. You know, I think this is something that needs to slow down and really take a you know, a look at what the real impact will be to our water. But I really, as I said, I agree with all the concerns that you brought up.
We've already been through the water thing once when we had to percolate in the water, and everybody, they had to dig wells and
Yeah,
Right.
there
pipe
was,
water right across the base. to
yeah,
get it to-
LF1
Right,
closed the wells.
Right, yeah.
We've had issues already, and we want to be careful, because we already
Yeah.
know what it's like not to have the water.
Right.
We don't need that again.
So,
Yeah, I think they waited, you know, in the last 4 years, the environmental laws are still on the books, but they haven't been enforced as strongly as they had been in the last 15 years. And so that they're doing it now, or had planned to do it now, is similar to, you know, what the developers have done. And, you know, every town and every state have tried to take advantage of the, you know, the situation as far as environmental impact statements. It's, you know, you try to not have to go through the process. And if you can get, you know, agencies saying it's negligible, you don't have to. And I just don't think this meets the test at all. 170 acres, this is a significant impact.
So the range that now exists is not ample, so to do what is needed with the new range, what do we gotta do to have a new range? That's a question.
Well, they have to do clear cut 170 something acres,
Yeah.
right? And then, I mean, I haven't seen any detailed plans. The small arms ranges up there. About 8 years ago, I was involved up there with something called an Impact Area Review Team. That's where they had representatives from the different towns sit with the Superfund companies that are doing all the remediation up there. So there was a back and forth, discussion and sharing of information. But I think that's all gone now. I don't know who sits in what, or do they do representative type meetings with representatives from each of the towns, or how it's going to work. But it's going to be 8 points, so there'll be 8 people, and then like Tom was saying, I mean, this is a good example, I think, of mission creep. We started with individual weapons, and now we're going up to the machine guns. And I looked at the demonstration in Washington when all the National Guards people were there. Didn't see any machine guns set up.
Yeah.
I mean, why we're doing this? Because the Army says you have to be trained for machine guns. Fine, but where is the National Guard used most of the time? It's used for support for disaster recovery, or for like what happened in Washington, the riots, or the demonstrations to help keep order.
So this base was set up jointly between the state and the federal government back in 1935. And in 1935, Cape Cod was kind of off the radar. It was, very rural and not densely populated, and it made a lot of sense to have a base at that area. But what's happened over time is that the population's increased, and this has become a tourist destination. We have 200,000 people year-round, and we have over 1 million people here in the summertime. And that's our key tourism time when we're trying to, make the money for the whole year. And, you get 10 weeks, 12 weeks to do that. The motels, the restaurants, it's a seasonal type of economy. And that's the time that, you want to train your troops, and I remember years back in the 80s, I mean, it was like every weekend truck after truck, convoy after convoy, going out to Camp Edwards to train. And, the board at that time tried to work with the base as far as, what time they were training, trying to, so that they wouldn't be, shooting the guns off throughout the night, and it was very loud. It was very loud. It would, shake the houses and shake the windows.
Sure.
And but we're fortunate, the town of Bourne's fortunate that we're on the other side. This is all going to happen, down by Forestdale, and, it's going to, just disturb them as it disturbed them back in the 80s. And it's just a waste of money if you're going to spend $8 million on this, and then there's going to be a tremendous activist response as you utilize this. It's going to end up getting shut down, and you just spent $8-10 million for nothing. So I think doing the impact statement, hearing the concerns of the constituents. I mean, there's literally hundreds of houses in that location there. I mean, they are going to be dramatically affected, and you know, they will, you know, as the noise level increases, so won't their anger and their activism. I mean, they've already started protesting.
Yeah, so what would be the alternative for them to go to Vermont or to somewhere else?
According to a letter I received from this fellow, the Devons area, they're trying to build a 4-position machine gun range up there. So, they go there, or they go where they always go. They go up to Camp Ethan Allen or something like that up in Vermont, I guess it is. So,
Yeah.
but what I tried to talk to Andrew Gottlieb. I sent him an email to say, is anybody organizing a group that's going to try to push this? And he said not that he's aware of. And because I went to the Farsdale thing that you talked about, and there was a lot of different organizations that were represented there, but it seems everybody's kind of just going away a little bit. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to talk to the selectmen in Bourne and see if they can generate this letter of concern, and we can get that covered. And I don't know anybody in Sandwich.
I think listening to different board members, it's almost the position is, you know, that's the federal government and we can't do anything about it. Yeah. And that's just really not the case. It's the Army National Guard and the, you know, it's a state land that's at least to there's like 5 entities out there. They used to call it Joint Base Cape Cod. So there's still, you know, other entities out there, but this is where usually all the noise comes from, was Camp Edwards, that part of the base, the northern part, most part of the base there, and that's where the Guard trains and you know, active duty there in the summer. But I just think it's really something that our board, our, you know, current part-time board, where they're so busy with so much of just the town's business, that it's stepping into another area that, and you know, I think you really have to strongly encourage them to get involved. Yeah. I think it's something that they feel that it's not in their purview, but like you said, the strength in numbers, 3 boards coming together, showing, you know, concern. I mean, that was done back in the 80s all the time. I mean, at that time, there was an open meeting law, but you can meet if somebody else is making the presentation. And we used to go out to the base, and all the boards were there, and you know, everything that was put forward, I mean, you know, everybody was looking at each other, and everybody knew that you were hearing what they wanted to tell you, and you know, that's all you were going to get for information. Yeah. You know, but at least you were you did get information. You know, I think you know, they didn't expect this to be open arms, welcome. We can't wait to have you train in the area again. They knew that it would be this type of response. So the best strategy was not to say anything at all. Don't make any, you know, of the boards aware of this. Have, you know, least amount of public comment, and you know, be ahead of the game, being almost to the end game before bringing it out to public scrutiny. So again, yeah, the boards, you know, should get together, come up with a common strategy, and deal with the base on this, and at least try to get environmental impact statement out there, because it is significant impact.
It is now is really time for people to start unifying, because the COVID thing for over a year, people had to
Right.
Zoom meetings,
Right.
and they've had a really difficult time communicating. It's been really tough
Yep.
with any boards, or with everybody. And if you could unify somewhat at this time, and particularly the three towns, and further maybe, and especially about the water. I mean,
Right.
what
Right.
is more important than the water?
Yeah.
There's really nothing more important than that. I mean, and I, I understand they have needs to train, but this isn't the only place, and it's kind of
No,
rough.
It's the area's changed over the years. It's not conducive to,
It also,
loud noises.
it'd also be nice to know what what our state elected officials think about this,
It would be.
I had sent an email to Sue Moran when she first got elected and heard back from her staffer, but, nothing really concrete or anything like that, so I'm gonna try her again, and we'll just see,
Yeah, I don't know who you would get a hold of in the sandwich. Do you have any idea,
No.
other than the town administrator? Or,
Yeah, Bud Dunham.
I don't know
I
if
mean,
he's
you
still
could,
there, but yeah.
and he could then in turn, inform his board of selectmen. But
Yeah.
Bud's been there for, I don't know, 30 years.
He's
anyway.
been there long enough to know that they've issues
Oh, yeah, he
come
was.
up.
Yeah, he was involved. The first time around. Mark Forrest, who's the county commissioner.
Yep,
Uh,
I've talked to him
Okay,
already.
he should have a lot of information, I
So-
would think.
I don't know, but I can follow up. That's a good idea. Call the town administrator in Sandwich and see if we can at least get them aware of some of the concerns that's going on here,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes, so, Dick, would you wrap it up? I mean, give us a couple of minutes of how you feel, and, other than, how do you feel about
Well,
contacting our selectmen and our town
you know,
administrator?
I just think they're building this range because they don't want to close down Camp Edwards. That's what and I've talked to 3 or 4 people that came to the same conclusion, It's survival time here,
Yeah.
where they cut the Air Force out, or they're no longer there. So, this may be the next step. I really don't know, but like I said before, we need the leadership teams of the different towns to really make their positions of the town known, and I'm hoping that something like that will happen, and I hope that APCC, the Preservation of Cape Cod group, can put some pressure on the whole water table problem and the pollution problem, and these guys claim, oh, no pollution, we're all going to shoot copper bullets now. We're not going to shoot lead bullets. We're going to shoot copper bullets. I have no idea what that means. And,
I don't either. Copper's not,
No,
it takes longer to break down, but, back into the earth,
so
that's where it came from.
we'll see. We
Yeah.
have to just
Some people think that way. I know people that actually think that if they dump the oil back on the ground, that's where it came
Right,
from.
exactly.
I mean, and it's not a good thought process, but people have it.
no.
It's
For me, the fact that this just kind of fell out of the sky and nobody really talked to anybody
Yeah.
about this is it's like your neighbor putting a 3-story house next to yours,
it
It's,
is. I'm running out of town, so I have to say goodbye. But I want to thank you guys both for coming tonight. Thank you so much, Dick. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
And I want to thank everybody for calling in and asking questions. If you have questions, you can call into the studio during the week and leave it on the machine, and Diane will get the questions to Dick if you have any questions on this show. Thank you so much, and thank you.